If for some strange reason I was born back into this same life, but I had the knowledge that I have now, these are the things that I would do differently to ensure my awakening process went faster and smoother because it was pretty complicated and painful. First of all, I would have started somatic experiencing, SE, much sooner. For example, in my 20s, and I would have done it before awakening began, and as much as I could, at least. Particularly coming from a trauma background, this was the most useful healing modality that I used. I did probably 10 years of other types of modalities, all types of spiritual ones, shamanic and Reiki, and all types of energy healing, as well as acupuncture and neuroemotional technique and network chiropractic and all kinds of other types of modality. And I'm sure they all helped in some way. But where I saw real results for the money that I was spending week to week was when I started getting somatic experiencing. And yes, we do need some level of emotional maturity to be able to do that work. It is quite challenging. But in a perfect world, I would have done that in my 20s and just felt a lot better about life and developed a healthy sense of self and not been operating with so much trauma as well. And it maybe would have made my life a lot happier and also helped with the awakening that was going to happen. Secondly, in a perfect world, doing it over again, I would have found someone to identify what Enneagram type I was and then got their help to understand that identity type and how that works with awakening. And so I could surrender that identity because I can really see the benefit. It's not a necessity, I don't think, for awakening. Awakening will work its way through that process anyway, but it is a very useful map. So I only found out about the Enneagram once I was already awake, right on the tail end there when it was about to happen. So it was already too late for me to use it as a tool. But I did find once I learnt about it just how helpful it can be for awakening if we're not using it like a personality questionnaire and trying to just develop a healthy personality, but actually seeing it as our identity structure, our operating system that we're trying to let go of to actually reach liberation, then I think it can be extremely beneficial. So I would have found someone that understood how it connects to awakening, and I would have got them to type me and learnt all about it. And if I could do it again, I probably would opt to have been single earlier through the process. So I became single when I was 40, but perhaps at 30, that would have been a lot smoother sailing for me, particularly to do with letting go of identity, facing the existential aloneness that happens through awakening. And there was a lot of development that needed to happen here, that needed for me to be alone to do it and not dependent in any way. So starting that process 10 years earlier certainly would have made awakening go faster. And the next thing I would have done is learn about the nervous system and understand what my dysfunction was because I didn't even know anything about the nervous system or how that related to awakening and how important it was, and how my state of dissociation and functional freeze that I was operating in without even knowing what that was or that it could be any different was not only dysfunctional and not really living fully and not really able to be present, but how that hindered my spiritual practice. And so I did a lot of meditating, and I kind of wasted the first 8, 10 years of meditating because I was doing it in a very, very transcendent, dissociated way. And so it wasn't really working on anything because we really need to be doing an embodied meditation and have the awareness in the body and be working through things to be able to reach liberation. And I didn't know any of that. I had a suspicion that something was wrong. I would ask teachers about why I always had this pain here when I meditated, and I'd feel dizzy and disorientated after meditating. It would be quite painful. Now I know that was all to do with dissociation, and that's why I didn't feel right. But None of the teachers could help me at the time. I figured that out later. But if I had have learnt earlier on about the nervous system and the types of dysfunction it can have and how that shows up for you and how that hinders your awakening process and also your ability to do proper meditation, meditation that actually helps you to get there, then I know I would have been very interested in learning about that earlier on. So that's something I wish I had have learned again in my 20s. And lastly, I wish I had have figured out sooner that I could trust awakening and that it wasn't trying to destroy my life. And that's how it felt and how I was interpreting it at the time. I was a victim to awakening and I didn't want it. I didn't want to be a seeker. I wasn't interested in it. I just wanted to have a normal life. And so it felt very unsettling to go through the awakening process and I was in such resistance to it. But in a perfect world, if I could pass that version of me a message, it would be that to trust awakening and that that's where all the happiness is. And yes, it's a hard process to get through, no doubt, but that's where all the joy is going to be and all the peace is going to be once you get through it. And you can trust it. You can trust it, is what I would say to myself if I could give myself a message at that time. It is trustworthy. It's doing the right thing by you. It's all going to work out. Just trust it. So if I could have surrendered to the process and trusted it sooner, I could see how I much would have had a much easier ride with awakening. It did happen eventually, but again, it took until I was 40 to get fully on board with it. So it was 10 years of fighting it and suffering immensely, pushing against awakening before I fully surrendered to the process. So that would be the other thing I could change if that was at all possible. And of course, none of this is possible. It went exactly the way as it was supposed to go. I know that. But I just thought it would be interesting to talk about some of the things that I think are priorities or important parts of the awakening process.